Hello students, welcome to video 5.2. Your objective is I can classify parallelograms and use their properties to solve problems. The very first definition we have today is parallelogram. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with both pairs of opposite sides parallel. So if we were to draw a parallelogram, it would have four sides because it's a quadrilateral, and it will have two sides, opposite sides are going to be parallel. So that side, those two sides are parallel, and these two sides are also parallel. Okay, so now let's actually look at the properties of a parallelogram. And the first one is that opposite sides are congruent. So in the figure that we had before, we will now use, let's say, yellow. Okay, so opposite sides are congruent, which now means not only parallel, but we have this side here is congruent to that side, and then over here we'll use two markings. These two sides are now also congruent. Okay, let's mark that off. Next one is going to be consecutive angles are supplementary. So if consecutive angles are supplementary, that's going to mean that I can pick two angles that are right next to each other. So let's pick two angles. Okay, here we go. So let's say angle A and angle B. That means when we add angle A plus angle B, it's going to equal 180. Same thing for angle C here and angle D. C plus D also equal 180. Okay? Next one is opposite sides are, you knew it, congruent. So I said opposite sides, I meant angles, sorry about that. So now we want to say angles. So now we want to say angle A is actually congruent to angle C, and angle B is congruent to angle D. And last but not least, the diagonals are going to bisect each other. So if we look at the diagonals, let's go with green here. Let's make some diagonals. So we're going to make a diagonal from here all the way across to C, and then from vertex B to D. So that means if they bisect each other, then the smaller parts of them, which would be here to here, that is congruent, those two pieces. And then here as well, this segment is congruent to this segment. Okay, so let's look at the examples. We only have two today, but they have a couple of parts. Example 1, it says circle the reason line segment PT is congruent to TR and ST is congruent to TQ. Alright, so here is PT, and here is TR, and here is ST, and here is TQ. So these are diagonals, and we know that there are things about diagonals that are true if this is a figure known as a parallelogram. So, opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent doesn't really help us. So I'm not going to circle that one because we don't know anything. We don't know if that's a parallelogram right now. Over here we have line segment PR is perpendicular. It's perpendicular bisector of QS. Again, we don't know anything about things being perpendicular. It's not told to us, so we can't assume. Okay, but over here this says the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So that would definitely be the reason why those pieces are congruent. So here we will circle. Okay, next one. It says cross out the equation that is not true. Okay, so that must mean that one of these is false and the other three are true. Okay, so let's see if we can find the three true ones and we'll find the imposter. Okay, so now that we know that this is a true statement and that these segments here are part of the diagonal and they are they're bisecting each other. then we know some information. So that would mean that y here is definitely the same as x plus 1. So y equals x plus 1. So hey, that means this one is actually true. So this is a good one. Okay? That also would mean that over here, 3y minus 7 is equal to 2x because, again, they're equal to each other. Great. So now we're just left with the remaining two. So if we look at this first one over here, it says 3 times x plus 1 equals 7. Well, x plus 1 is really just y, right? X plus 1 is really just y. And that will make this one basically the same as this one, except they substituted y with x plus 1. And that's okay because y equals x plus 1. So that also means that this is true, which means that, dun, 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 this one is not true. This one's wrong. It's false. Okay? Okay. So our second question says, in parallelogram ABCD, which means this is really parallelogram ABCD, and we have to go in that order. So let's draw it. Here's the parallelogram. So we're going to go A, B, C, D. Okay? And then it says the measure of angle A is 53. So let's just put that in for angle A, 53. Now, since this is a parallelogram, we know that opposite angles are congruent. So angle A is congruent to angle C. Therefore, angle C must be 53. Beautiful. Okay, and here's your hot question. It says, what is the measure of angle 1 in this parallelogram? Those are your 4 choices. Please make sure you use the link at q2lflipmath.wordpress.com to record your secret answer. Have a great night.